Greetings to one and all. I am Surabhi Jamal, back again with Read Between the Lines, curated just for you. Today, let's read and discuss yet another beautiful poem, Summer and Winter, written by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Be it summer at the peak of her beauty, with everything dazzling and rejoicing under the sun, or contrasting that with the harsh realities of winter where life comes to a standstill, freezing, dying in the process, let's see what Shelley has to say in this beautiful poem. Come join me and find out.
Known for his lyrical and long-form verse, Percy Bysshe Shelley was a prominent English romantic poet, one of the big six romantic poets, the others being Coleridge, Blake, Wordsworth, Byron, and Keats. Born in 1792 in England, Shelley died at the young age of 29 in a boating accident, the year 1822. He is best known for classics such as Ode to the West Wind, from where you get this beautiful line, O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Also, Ozymandias and the Mask of Anarchy. Educated at Oxford, Shelley campaigned for a fair and just society, as that was a time of incredible oppression. Shelley did not see fame during his lifetime, but recognition of his achievements in poetry grew steadily following his death. It is said that no one dared to publish him for fear of being arrested, as he wrote against government policies. The poem, Summer and Winter, was published after his death in 1829 and is rich with images. The poet in the poem seems to be making a comparison between summer and winter. Summer represents joy, beauty, peace of mind, and hope, whereas winter symbolizes lifelessness, decay, despair, and discomfort amongst the poor and needy. Let's begin with the reading of the first stanza. Summer and Winter by Percy Bysshe Shelley. It was a bright and cheerful afternoon, towards the end of the sunny month of June, when the north wind congregates in crowds, the floating mountains of the silver clouds from the horizon, and the stainless sky opens beyond them like eternity. All things rejoiced beneath the sun, the weeds, the river, and the cornfields, and the reeds, the willow leaves that glanced in the light breeze, and the firm foliage of the larger trees. The poet describes a bright and cheerful afternoon where nature seems to be at her best. It's a picture-perfect day with the wind blowing from the north, where the clouds have congregated, that is, assembled, and they look like floating mountains of silver, dazzling the eye right up to the horizon, blending in with the clear sky to eternity. Although unsaid, one feels that the poet wants this moment to last forever. It appears as if the wind is a balm for aching nerves. The sun and the clouds are full of joy. Indeed, all things on earth appear to be brimming with joy. Greenery is seen everywhere. The river flows in gay abandon. The fields laden with corn seem to be smiling as they sway in the gentle breeze. The reeds, the willow leaves, and the foliage of the larger trees shine or shimmer. The word used over here is glanced. The months of summer seem to provide peace to the troubled mind. Let us now read the second stanza of the poem, which is in total contrast to the first. It was a winter such as when birds die in the deep forests, and the fishes lie stiffened in the translucent ice, which makes even the mud and slime of the warm lakes a wrinkled clod as hard as brick. And when, among their children, comfortable men gather about great fires and yet feel cold, alas then, for the homeless beggar old. The bubble of hope, regeneration, and joy, which represents summer, soon bursts as summer recedes into winter, reducing the horizon of all living creatures. Winter represents death and is ruthless, causing the death of many beautiful birds who cannot resist the bitter chill in the deep forests. Aquatic life is also badly affected. Fishes freeze, stiffening, hardening in the waters because the water turns into ice as the temperature lowers in winter. Even the mud and slime. Slime refers to an unpleasant, thick, slippery liquid substance found in the waters. So even the mud and slime of the warm lakes now turns into a hard lump or mass, referring to clod, and that appears as hard as a brick. Many living creatures find it difficult to survive in this bitter cold. Shelley is not merely captivated by nature alone, but he shows his empathy towards humanity. In the last three lines, he makes or shows a contrast between the rich and the poor. However warm the rich and their children feel sitting by the fireside, they continue complaining about the cold. But the poor, unfortunately, can neither complain nor find any comforting place to escape the freezing cold. This definitely shows what Shelley felt about society, that is, the difference between the haves and the have nots. Shelley himself is speaking from a place of privilege where he does not lack in any of the comforts in life. But to his credit, he is sensitized to the needs of the poor who suffer even as others rejoice. Here, Shelley compels us to look at those who are living in miserable conditions even as we grumble over small things. The conventional praise of summer is mirrored by the sadness of winter in this beautiful poem, and the two stanzas seem to echo to each other. The poet's compassion for humanity and the poorest in society appears unexpectedly in the last line. Its briefness gives it all the more impact. Let us now take a look at the figures of speech used in the poem. When the north wind congregates in crowds is an example of an alliteration. Also, stainless sky, this too is an example of an alliteration. An alliteration is a series of words which begin with the same consonant sound. Stainless sky, S and S, used in two successive words, is an example of an alliteration. The stainless sky opens beyond them like eternity, is an example of a simile. A simile is a figure of speech which compares two unlike things and is often introduced by like or as. Next, the willow leaves that glanced in the light breeze. This is an example of a personification where a thing is given human attributes. Firm foliage is an example of an alliteration. It is also an example of an oxymoron where the words seem to be opposite in meaning to one another. Next, we have a wrinkle clawed as hard as brick. This is an example of a simile. The piece of earth is being compared to something as hard as brick. Let us now discuss the structure, theme, and tone used in the poem. The poem comprises of two stanzas, 10 and 8 lines respectively. It is made up of rhyming couplets. Couplets are a pair of successive lines which rhyme together. It was a bright and cheerful afternoon towards the end of the sunny month of June. Both rhyme with each other. It's a pair of two lines, a rhyming couplet. Next, let's look at the theme used in the poem. What do we mean by the word theme? The theme means the main message given by the poet. Sometimes it's very clearly stated, and sometimes it is inferred. That is, you have to find out or guess what it is. Here, the theme is very clear. The poet talks about the poetic imagination, which provides inspiration, is very creative. Originality is seen in the way he uses his words, and it empowers the human mind. Next, the power of nature is an underlying theme of all poems written by Shelley. Nature is considered to be a divine spirit, a holy spirit, which runs through everything in the universe. This force can be the root of human joy and goodness, and can also influence people to change the world for the better or worse. Here we see in the last lines the poet pointing out to the disparities between the haves and have nots, wherein the rich lament and still talk about feeling cold, whereas the poor are left fending for themselves in the intense cold with having nothing to keep themselves warm. Finally, we talk about the tone used in the poem. The poem is basically what is the poet feeling at the point of writing the poem? Is it a happy tone or is it an angry tone? Here we notice that in the first stanza, the poet is happy, cheerful, optimistic, whereas in the second stanza, he seems to be sad, in a reflective mood, and perhaps a bit pessimistic. That is, his thoughts seem to be more negative. Shelley truly weaves a rich, magical tapestry of words for summer and also for winter, and also shows his sensitivity towards the poor and downtrodden. How sad that this gem of a poet died so soon. I do hope you have understood my explanation of this beautiful poem. I am Surabhi Jamal, signing off. Till I meet you again, bye bye, take care of yourself.